So let's get down to business and actually pot up some topiary. I'll start out with a topiary that is basically already formed. I just picked up a couple of these beautiful lavender topes from Lowe's, and now I'm going to pot them up. Typically, when you get them, they're already in beautiful, pristine shape. This one already has a support. It's got one of these little clips to hold that support and secure it to the trunk. But as is often the case, it's not in a very attractive planter, i.e. this plastic one. Now I could take it for kind of a short-term proposition and plop it in a basket or something, and that would be fine. But typically, whenever possible, I do try to grow topiary so that I will have them for the long term. So the next decision I'm going to make is what kind of pot do I want to put these in? And that's part of the fun and part of the artistry of topiary, I think. You can kind of just channel what vibe you want to get with the type of container that you have, and then the height of the plant itself respective to the pot. So I have these two beautiful concrete pots. They're relatively shallow. You can see I've already got this one potted up with this topiary, and I've got it top dressed in some beautiful pea gravel. But I have to do a little bit of modification to the root ball to get it to fit into this pot. So let me show you what I'm going to do and what you typically need to do anytime you get a topiary that is already in a topiary form. So first of all, I'm going to take this gently out of the pot to make sure that I don't disturb the root ball, or at least I don't disturb it yet. As you can see here, these are just two plastic pots that I will recycle. So then I've got this great topiary, but you can see, even though I typically check the height of the plant relative to the pot, this is still going to be a little bit too tall. Now, normally I do try to plant it in a pot that's a little bit larger than the one in which it's already been growing. But in this case, I'm going to, I guess, play with a little bit of risk and put it in a pot that's not so much larger, and it's actually shallower, but because I want to get the effect. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to very carefully, and this is what you want to do with a topiary of any size, you guys, and really with any plant, is you want to make sure that you loosen up that root ball so that these roots don't continue to just grow in a circle, so that you kind of release them so that they can penetrate the soil in the pot around it. So I'm going to start teasing out some of these roots. And you can do this with almost anything. I'm using the tips of my pruners here. And you can see that this not only teases them out, but it also slightly abrades them and bruises them. So just like your skin, if you've got an owie, it will generate new cells and new growth to heal that spot. Now, so that I get a little bit of the bottom reduced, I'm just going to kind of gently take some off the bottom. And typically when you buy a plant like this, you'll find that it is most concentrated and the greatest density of root-bound roots is at the bottom. So I've kind of, I think, played with that a little bit. It's still slightly above soil level, so I'll loosen it up just a bit more. And you can see that that is going to leave me, I'm going to guess, maybe an inch around the diameter, the circumference rather, of the plant itself. So then I've got a good quality potting mix. I'm not going to put any fertilizer in here right now, but I do have a really good quality potting mix that I'm going to compress in the space between the root ball and the pot. And I really, this is where your fingers are the best tool, because they can really wedge themselves down in there to make sure that there are no air pockets, because I don't want any air pockets. Okay. Now, what this does is provide additional soil and a little bit more room for that root ball to grow and expand. Now, another thing to consider in your pot selection is how many specimens of that topiary do you have? Well, obviously I have 2 of these topiary that are going to be on my outdoor dining table, so I had 2 pots. If I wanted a more singular look and I only had 1 pot, then obviously I could select a different kind of pot. Another thing that I always do, you guys, is anytime my hands are dirty and I have a pot that may be a little too clean, I rub them over the surface of the pot. So any good moss, lichens, any of that beautiful green stuff that might have been growing in the soil will then grow on the exterior of the pot, because I like it to have some patina. And you can do this with obviously any kind of pot. Now my next thing is I'm going to top dress this with just some pea gravel. And you know what? I don't have any pea gravel here, but I'll be right back. Hold on. I'm back. Okay, so I've got some fresh pea gravel that I'm going to put about around the surface, over the surface and around the plant itself. And you may have noticed that I left a little bit of gap around the edges so that gravel will kind of stay in place with the boundary of the rim of the pot. Okay, so now I have 2 beautiful, and you can always kind of adjust it a little bit later to make sure that it stands up and flies right, because I can't stand a topiary that is not straight. And then I've got 2 beautiful lavender topiaries that I will take care of over the course of the summer. Hopefully they will make it, and they'll be beautiful all summer long. So next, what I'm going to show you is how to take a boxwood that you just buy at the nursery and you transform it, or start to transform it, into a classic topiary shape.